All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here from our studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming around the world on classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, the email address is xzone@classic1220.ca. A quick reminder, everyone, the X Chronicles newspaper for April is out, and with our compliments, all you need to do is go to www.xchronicles.net. That's www.xchronicles, and that's xchronicles.net. And for all the programming that we do on the X Zone Broadcast Network, once again, everything is with our compliments and the compliments of our advertisers, www.xzbn.net. Exonation, my first guest tonight is Lori McDonald, and she is the founder and owner of Alien UFO Art. The website is alienUFOart.com. She is a fluid artist, author, and Arizona native, has been conducting paranormal investigations in both California and Arizona since 1998. Her investigations have been featured on Channel 15 in Arizona on 3 separate occasions. She's been a guest on KDKB radio twice. Her Whaley House ghost photography was televised on Fact or Faked. She has had many paranormal experiences as a child while visiting her grandparents who lived in a haunted house in California. Joining me now is Lori McDonald. And Lori, welcome back to the X Zone. How are things in Arizona?
They are wonderful, and thank you for having me on X Zone.
Well, Lori, it's great having you with us, and please give my very best to Bill, who I understand is sitting right beside you.
I'm here, and it's a pleasure, Rob.
Lori, tell us about Mount Shasta's UFO sightings and platonic solids that you've investigated or you know about.
Okay, so in 1995, I was in Mount Shasta. Mm-hmm. At the homecoming conference, and I was with 2 of my friends, and we witnessed seeing a UFO, and it was down a dark road, and my friend was driving the car, and all of a sudden it just felt like somebody took over the control of the car, and before we knew it, we were like chanting and praying and oh my gosh, what's going on, and crying. It was really scary. And it all started with the cloud that Kim saw above the car. She kept saying, oh, what is that weird cloud, everybody? Look at that cloud. And so all of a sudden, like I said, the car was taken over. It was like a tunnel. Mm-hmm. And then before we knew it, we were at the end of the road and we gained control of the car. We drove to our hotel. And that whole entire night, I had dreams of the platonic solids. Only at that time, I didn't know what they were called. I just remember 3D platonic solid shapes rotating in laser light red, like a hologram in front of me, rotating around and around each shape. And so when I woke up the next morning, I said to my friends, you know, the whole night I had this very strange dream of these shapes. And then we had to get up and we had to get ready for the next day at the convention that we were at. And so we made light of it because we just didn't know what else to do. We all woke up with headaches.
Ooh.
And so that's what happened with the platonic solids. I really got heavily into platonic solids when I was at the Gem and Mineral Show, and I stumbled across the platonic solids, and I saw the shapes made of quartz, and I said to my friend, what are those? And Claude said those are platonic solids.
Now, could you describe what they are for our listeners?
Well, they've been around for a very, very long time, and they're geometric shapes, and they have many different sides for each one. There's trying to go to what it's easier if I go to that area. Oh yeah. So there's there's like a dodecahedron, there's a tetrahedron, hexahedron, octahedron, and an icosahedron. And I don't know if anybody is aware or has ever looked that up, but they are very beautiful shapes. And what do you think about the platonic solids, Bill?
Rob, the platonic solids exist in nature and manifest in some mineral forms. They're basically multi-sided. A square is an example when it's a cube.
Oh, I see.
A sphere is not. It has to have different sides. The most famous platonic solid was Carl Sagan's favorite, which was the dodecahedron.
Yeah, that has 12 faces, 20 vertices, 30 edges, 3 pentagons. And the tetrahedron has 3 triangles that meet at each vertex, and 4 faces, 4 vertices, and 6 edges. So it's, it's like geometry.
Right.
It's like sacred geometry.
And what is geometry? It's literally a universal mathematical language.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where regardless of what kind of life form you are, the math is the same everywhere in the universe. Physics is the same everywhere in the universe. Therefore, once you can express the mathematics within the physics, you have a basis for a language when you're communicating with something that can fare off into space and for which you have utterly nothing in common. You do have the mathematics plus the mathematics of navigation.
It's a universal language, but also an interesting thing is that through my research, I found out that the sacred geometry of the platonic solids was used in building the sacred monuments in ancient temples and mosques and holy sites. They did use the knowledge of the sacred geometry for that.
I'm just wondering, Lori, if this has something to do with the crop circles.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's a good observation. Because they do have like Metatron's cube that has been on a crop circle.
The crop circles sometimes show iconic symbology that isn't representational of any kind of a circle or anything like that. And if you look at some of the ancient Sanskrit languages and some of the earliest languages from prehistoric times that were inscribed or written down anywhere, some of those icons look literally like they could have come from India or somewhere like that.
Gotcha. Lori, how did the UFO encounter that you and your friends have, during the encounter, did you have any recollection of someone or something trying to communicate with you?
No, it was basically that the car was taken over,
Mm-hmm.
and my friend, she didn't even have her foot on the accelerator because she said, "Oh my God," she said, "Look, my foot, I took it off the accelerator to slow down. The car's not slowing down." We were going an even speed, even though we were on a dirt road, a bumpy dirt road.
Mm-hmm.
When that happened, it was smooth, like we were gliding.
Wow.
And so that whole entire time we were panic stricken going down that road to go on the main highway. And we finally, we got control of the car at the very end where we were going to turn right to go to our hotel. But I didn't really have any recollection of anything like aliens or anything like that.
Hmm.
And then I looked to see if we had missing time
Right.
because I thought, this is really weird that this happened. I mean, we didn't really have missing time, but the only thing that I thought was so strange was the dream, because that's also known as envisioning dreams, that people that are abducted have these types of dreams.
Have you
I've
had?
heard of other people that have had seen platonic solids while they've been abducted.
Really?
A lot of researchers have identified this pattern of expression as an organized and protracted program that is utilized on many different persons that are taken up for purposes of examination or whatever.
It can be used to erase your memory or cause a screen memory in place of something that really took place.
Or something they don't want you to remember.
And hypnotherapy, Dr. Deborah Troncalli offered to do hypnotherapy on me, and I said absolutely not. I was just so frightened at the thought of doing hypnotherapy.
When you put Lori under examination, she immediately shuts it down immediately. She doesn't like doctors all that much.
In this day and age, I don't know many people who do. Bill and Lori McDonald are our special guests this hour, and the website is alienUFOart.com. We've got to take our first break, so please stand by. Exonation, this is the Exxon. I'm Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, the email address is the same as it's been for many years now, exxon@classic1220.ca or exxon@exxonradiotv.com. Bill, Lori, and I will be back on the other side of the short break as we continue investigating the strange, the bizarre, the paranormal, parapsychology, and much more. Here we search for the answers, but we demand the truth. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling.
Welcome back, everyone. Bill and Lori McDonald are our special guests this hour. www.alienUFOart.com. Lori, since that encounter, have you had dreams considering the way that the first dream affected you?
Not of the platonic solids, but I have had dreams of, UFOs, UFOs shining lights in the windows. UFOs all over the sky and everybody running, things like that. Very scary nightmares.
In your opinion, the occupants of these UFOs, do they pose a threat to humanity?
I don't really know because I mean I've heard that they do, and I've heard other people that say that they can be healing, that they're here to save the planet, that they've come and stopped nuclear attacks. So I really don't know. I mean, there are people that are very frightened from the experiences, and like I said, it's controversial.
Bill, what's your take on it?
Take a more militaristic view. The Dr. David Jacobs was very explicit with his feeling that they represented a threat and that they were managing us the way humans manage cattle or any kind of agricultural commodity. And so that's more of my opinion on that subject.
I think more the threat is the exposure from the UFO itself.
The unknown? The possibility of what it could be? Who knows?
I'm thinking that we're being harvested for different things. And not just planetary resources like potable water or minerals.
What do you think the final objective is, Bill?
I think that intelligent life is not very conservation minded. I think that through most of the history of intelligent life, worlds have been harvested. They have been stripped of their resources, and then the harvesters move on.
That's chilling. That's a horrifying thought.
It's what we do to the chimpanzees in their environments throughout Africa.
That is so true. Something you sent us, Lori, it says Chilling ET Experiencer Research Group Invitation. Tell me about that.
Okay, so many years later, I was contacted, well, Bill and I were contacted by a scientist, and Bill was telling me how they wanted my sample because they'd heard of my UFO event.
Right.
And they were interested in studying me, studying my DNA, my blood, doing an MRI scan, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, oh, come on, Bill, you've been watching too much sci-fi. I said, if this is true, I want to talk to this person. You have this person call me. And he did. So the scientist did actually call, and we had an email exchange. And
an explicit email exchange. Fortunately, understood exactly what he was writing about.
Okay.
Long story short, Rob, it's very simple. People claim that they're abductees. Whether it's posthumous or whether they're still alive, it's possible to verify their stories through a medical means. There's two major ways that they need to do in order to put that data together. Very fast, they sequence your DNA, and if they find specific patterns in the uncoded sequences of your DNA, then what they're seeing is gene markers that only occur in people who have experienced that lab rat experience. At the same time, they put your head through an MRI because the brain bodies are exposed to non-ionizing radiation omnidirectionally. When you're passing through the spinning electromagnetic fields that somehow divorce the vehicle from gravity, similar to the Biefeld-Brown effect, can actually limitate things. Unfortunately, that effect involves particles and air mass. We're talking something more along the lines of microwaves.
What that the scientist told me specifically, because I'm not a doctor, I'm quoting.
Right.
The DNA test was for abduction-related biological information and markers consistent with others who were abductees. There were medical statistics that showed a high, in some cases 100%, of abductees involved in near-field UFO incidents that had epigenetic damage and stress hormone-related DNA. And that's why he wanted for me to participate. But for me personally, I chose not to. But that's not to say, it's anybody's their own individual choice. And I'm all for whatever anybody decides that they want to do. But for me personally, I didn't want to be subjected to that. And I felt that I didn't have any control over whatever was done with my bodily fluids, DNA, brain scans, who was going to look at it, what they were going to do with it. So I chose not to. I mean, it in a way, it offended me.
Epigenetics is a collection of sciences and disciplines that relate to the complex molecules that surround each 3.2 billion base pair sequence of DNA inside of every single chromosome in our bodies, in each cell of our bodies. Gene markers come from the intrusion of those proteins into the actual DNA sequencing, marking it at specific locations unique for that stressor event.
Also, I was also told by the scientists that, quote unquote, the reason why that they wanted the MRI was because the trauma of the UFO exposure caused superficial burns in the lobes on and within the layers of the human brain, and that they could see this.
And the pattern is specific because it must be from passing through an omnidirectional source.
It was from the UFO propulsion exposure is what I was told. It created a pattern of inflammation.
If I point an airplane radar at you, you're going to get nailed with microwave radiation, but it's coming from one direction.
Right.
For it to be anomalous in origin, it has to be coming from every direction at once. So you get like this sunburn on the various bodies of the brain, your amygdala, your hypothalamus, your thalamus, all of these interior bodies of the brain get a very light sunburn effect.
Now, was this scientist, was he a private individual or was he part of the government?
Both.
Oh, you should have seen his 16-page resume. He was affiliated with so many governmental agencies. It was scary.
You already know who he is. He's part of the research group that was part of the Skinwalker Ridge examinations back when Bob Bigelow was owning the ranch.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's Kit Green.
So whatever happened with Skinwalker Ranch? We don't hear about it anymore.
That's not true. It's on TV, and Travis Taylor is running complex investigations that are showing directed electromagnetic expressions that are beyond anybody in this world's ability to control.
Directed and also geomagnetic Earth anomalies that were causing field anomalies. They were able to measure them.
Are you familiar with the physics of portals?
No.
Portals is basically when you get an offset dimension to briefly intersect with our four-dimensional length, width, height, and time dimension of reality, which is where you and I are sitting right now. And that creates an opening, a brief opening that things can pass through, or that energy can be conveyed through, or transmissions. And apparently some of these portals get created by nature, and some of them have to be created by technology using power sources like nuclear fusion, if it were to be stabilized. We don't have stabilized nuclear fusion as far as the public is concerned anywhere on Earth. But Skinwalker Ridge, along with other areas on the planet, seem to be expressing anomalous geophysical energy that's able to move in a vortex type circular pattern within a specific location.
So, Bill, what do you think is happening at Skinwalker Ranch? Because I just like to say something that it used to be we were able to watch it up here, but we don't anymore. It's not available to us up here in Canada.
The show's coming back. There was something called a writer's strike, and for business reasons, it was put off. A new season starts in 4 weeks.
Oh, super! I'll have to get my guy to find it and download it for me. So
Yeah, they've already advertised it.
So Bill, is this a place, Skinwalker Ranch, a place of alien going on, or is it, in your opinion, nature? Or is it both?
Well, it could be both because it's been going on for far longer than the whites, including the Spanish conquistadors or even the Templars, have been in the area.
I do know that they have had cattle mutilations on that land.
They tested Lori, and she hit a Grand Slam home run with an episode of remote viewing back in 1999. And that was NIDS that did that with Lori.
When did you develop your ability to do remote viewing, Lori?
It's just psychic. They call it remote viewing.
She was born with it.
But developing, I've always been like this. I'm very intuitive. And what they did is, it was Eric
Eric Davis.
Eric called and he said,
and Hal put off and all those guys.
I want you to do this test. And I'm like, he says, I'll send you a piece of paper with coordinates in the mail. And I got that. And I said, but...
All right, guys, we've got to take our break. We'll be right back as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Whatever you do, don't go away. Bill McDonald and Lori McDonald are our guests this hour. Exonation, their website, alienUFOart.com. Here's a question to both of you. With all the experiments that are being done to those people who have had experiences or have been abducted, is there a possibility that because of their event, they can actually suffer from PTSD?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
It's just 2 words, hell yes.
And also, more than post-traumatic stress, there's also a lot of landmark cases
with autoimmune
with
disease.
UFO exposure that I have in my book also. They have, from the UFO exposure, they have injuries from seeing the UFO, being exposed to the UFO propulsion.
Kit Green specifically cited certain kinds of autoimmune diseases that affect the skin, things like that.
Would they also, all right, if the brain is affected, what some people think of as Alzheimer's or other diseases like that, could this have been caused by an interaction with a UFO?
Theoretically, absolutely. Do we have any proof? None.
He never said anything about Alzheimer's or anything like that. It was more specific.
Dementia was never mentioned in any way, shape, or form.
And he had like 50 people or more,
Over
more or
100.
less, in his group. He also had control people, because it was scientific.
Why is it
they
that
had a proper experiment going that was being funded by pharmaceutical companies?
Why is it that the private sector is doing more to investigate what the claims of those who have had UFO experiences, had first, second, third contact, have been abducted?
This goes back to President Nixon. He divorced this kind of research and investigation from congressional oversight back during the Apollo 11 and the subsequent Apollo missions. It was transferred to the private sector because people who are getting paid significant amounts of money in the private sector are far more reliable to go to their deathbeds without spilling the beans because of their retirement packages. Whereas public servants, and I had met plenty in my investigations on the Roswell case, you get them on their deathbeds, they're dying of cancer, the opiates wear off, it's the last 36 hours, and they're confirming everything that they kind of threw in your direction over time. The best time to get at people is when they're very, very close to the time of their death. I know that sounds a little bit
Macabre.
Deathbed confessions.
yeah, it's a little bit like being a vulture. But if you really want to know about aerospace secrets, if you really want to know about anything related to the engineering of spy planes or sources of engineering and where they came from, the time to get these guys is when there's no more pain management. Cancer kills half of all natural cause deaths, all old age. You're either dying of organ failure, which is somewhat painful, or you're dying of cancer, which most of the time is very painful.
In your opinion, Bill, what happened at Roswell?
They recovered a vehicle that was not of this earth, something that was not assembled. It was grown. It was metal crystalline in nature, and its flight controls, its operating systems, everything mimicked the function, structure, and form of certain kinds of sea animals.
Wow. So it was a biological craft?
It functioned with a degree of sophistication, but there was no organic chemistry inside the vehicle itself other than the flight crew that had blended mental remote control of technical systems, which is something the Air Force has already demonstrated for decades.
Why do you think the government is keeping everything hush-hush?
Well, it's not what you think. It's about,
They don't want to create panic, for one thing.
I disagree. The number one reason is about money. If you introduce this kind of thing slowly into the manufacture of all the technologies that go into everything we consume, a consumer-based economy profits over the long term with the trickle-down economics, the upside-down pyramid, trickling back to these guys who recovered everything. This goes all the way back to when Nixon finally was able to take this whole thing away from congressional oversight.
What's your opinion, Lori?
My opinion is that there are certain circumstances where people are exposed to the UFO injuries. They have physical injuries, and who's to say where these UFOs are? They ours? Are they real UFOs? Are they government-run UFOs? We don't know, but the government doesn't want to pay if you have radiation exposure from somebody that's witnessed a UFO. So, there is proof of people that have witnessed the UFOs. There's proof of UFO exposure from these the sightings. And there are cases where, let's see, it was the Cash Landrum incident.
Again, radiation exposure.
Now, to me, that sounds like it was from our government or a government.
Right.
And they were just trying to cover up because they didn't want to pay for what happened to them.
And
physically.
remember, non-ionizing radiation as well as particle radiation always expresses itself into living tissue as burns, a burning effect, profound burning.
Because they did try to file a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the government for that, and the case was so controversial, it was dismissed. So why would the government admit to anything like that?
Well, if these entities are able to traverse time and space, why are we so sure that nuclear energy or radioactivity is involved? Is it possible
In
that?
my opinion, they're probably operating breakthrough propulsion physics technologies about 10,000 years in advance of us. They're probably about 2 million years biologically evolved ahead of us. You may be right, but how do you force or express electromagnetic radiation, which is a force, magnetism? How do you make magnetism obey you without a profound technology, which means you need incredible amounts of energy? You need a power plant to produce the energy. The only thing that I know of in the universe that does that effectively is matter and antimatter interaction.
Is it possible that we have actually developed that technology and it is kept under very tight security?
From reverse engineering.
That's what Ben Rich told some of my associates at MUFON back in the day. And that's what he told me hours before he died back in 95.
All right, so what is the sense of the congressional hearings if the government knows that this is all a wash?
Because here's the thing, the pilots aren't going to be quiet anymore. They're tired of feeling like they have to carry boulders of security on their shoulders. They're sick and tired of it. They think it's a whole lot of malarkey, especially the Navy guys, because the Navy's always taken the lead on this sort of thing, even over the Air Force historically. And that goes all the way back to Nixon and his relationship with the submarine guy, who was an admiral until he was like 90 years old, Hyman Rickover. But this just goes on and on and on. And the pilots are sick of it. These things come in and out of water, which is 800 times more dense than the atmosphere just above it. And these things are moving as if they're simply moving through a cloud or moving through an expression of heat. They don't seem to be affected by the material in any way. Now, underwater, there's technologies called cavitation that they're experimenting with for both submarine hulls and torpedoes, where if you vibrate it fast enough, you force the water density to reduce instantaneously, allowing a torpedo-shaped body to fly through it faster underwater. Then you're flying underwater instead of swimming underwater. The same thing with atmosphere, but we're dealing with transatmospheric expressions of propulsion where the skin of the vehicle, whether it's underwater, in the air, or in space, is the actual engine. But the power plant would be at the gravitational center of the vehicle, producing the energy that is transferred and converted into magneto-aeroelectrodynamics in an atmosphere, magneto-hydrodynamics in a fluid medium, and into some form of what Help-Puthoff used to talk about as the engineering of vacuum, the zero-point energy field, something like that, once you're free of the atmosphere, but not free of a gravity well.
We've got to take our final break for this hour, Bill and Lori, so please stand by. Exonation, Bill and Lori McDonald are our special guests. Their website is alienUFOart.com. That's www.alienUFOart.com. And we'll all be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up the first hour of tonight's show here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. And we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@classic1220.ca, or you can visit all the programming that is produced and broadcast and syndicated, distributed by the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. Don't go away. We'll be right back on the other side of this break because you're listening to us right here on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed at classic1220.ca.
Oh, what a night. Late December back in '63. What a very special time for me. As I remember, what a night. Oh, what a night. You know, I didn't even know her name.
Color me your color, baby. Color me your car. Color me your color, darling. I know who you are. Come above your color chart. I know where you're coming from. Call me, alright. Call me anytime. Call me, alright. You can call me any day or night. Call me.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone, the final hour of this first hour of tonight's show. That's because we come to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight from our studios and broadcast center in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada on the X Zone Broadcast Network. And you're listening to us right here on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streaming around the world on classic1220.ca. Bill McDonald and Lori McDonald are special guests this hour. Their website, alienUFOart.com. First of all, guys, thanks very much for coming on the show. It's been great having you back after all these years. And Bill, you wanted to give us a kind of list.
Okay, first of all, my wife has done some very, very detailed research into this area because she has the time because she works from home.
Right.
And the Defense Intelligence Agency of the United States is the military version of the Central Intelligence Agency. And all of the agencies have, to greater and lesser degrees, picked up a number of medical consequences to being in the immediate vicinity of a vehicle that's hovering or landing.
This is in chapter 2 of my book.
Okay.
Now, the DIA actually documented within its reports, it's called exposure to a near field event, referring to those spinning electromagnetic fields that cook you with non-ionizing radiation. Now, immediately afterwards, the vast majority of persons exposed experienced nosebleeds, ringing in the ears, mental problems leading to a loss of appetite that led to weight loss, other causes for weight loss, an expansion of extrasensory perception abilities that was shocking and disturbing to a lot of these people. Implants, especially the kind that were researched by Dr. John Lear, who was a dear friend until he passed away some years ago, were recovered. The loss of the ability to taste, kind of like COVID. Hearing damage on par with what happens to guys like me when you're around F-18s too much. Itching, profound itching of the skin, gynecological problems, breathing problems, including something that looks like chronic reactive airway disease that a lot of people get from different jobs throughout their lives. But the weird thing is, it doesn't involve dust. It doesn't involve chemicals. It doesn't involve particulates in the atmosphere. It involves radiation where it's pure energy radiation, radiation that includes microwaves at one end of the spectrum, radio waves at that same end. And then you have X-rays at the high end and even gamma radiation exposure. So this is where that brain body sunburn comes in, because it functions like X-rays in the way in which it goes through your skin and gets you. Like what happens when these really cruel children put hamsters and mice in microwaves back in the 70s. It does it to you like that, but they whisk you through it fast enough to where you don't suffer the same effects to the same degree. But the consequences remain in the human body, on the human body, in the form of burns and lesions that were caused by expressed heat. Does
Could
that
it-
make sense?
Well, I'm just going to ask you, with all the cell phone towers that are around, microwave towers that are around, people who keep putting their cell phones to their ears instead of using the hands free, could this also be part of the problem?
Absolutely.
I don't know, because what was explained to me was that they had specific gene markers for this.
I see.
And I don't think it was the same for being exposed to cell phones.
But remember, gene markers are caused by profound psychological disturbances, such as war, such as stranger rape, even more so if it's a known family member rape. Really profound.
And also, it doesn't show up on the MRI the same either. Like a cell phone, if you're exposed to that, it shows up differently on an MRI,
Cell
according to
phones-
what was explained to us.
Cell phones don't generate the amount of power, and it's not controlled. It radiates omnidirectionally. So, and it's low energy because it's low power, comparatively speaking. If I were to illuminate you with a radar dish from an F-18 after I jacked it up by its wings and took the weight off the wheels, your burns inside and out would be far more profound, even though at varying distances, the effect eases off. It's called wave propagation. But we can talk about that in the future.
Sure,
The main
I'd
thing
really
I
like
want
that.
people to know is that my wife did an extraordinary amount of research on and putting together a book that anybody can read from the age of 7 all the way up to the age of 107. It's thoroughly enjoyable. It's super long. And once you're reading my wife's book, you'll also notice it's heavily illustrated. That was my contribution to the book after she took some of her computer programs and actually improved a bunch of my drawings. So we're a team, and she's the boss. And I just want people to know that they're really going to enjoy this, and also her original Help for the Haunted book that's also been out. It's on its second edition right now. Both of them are found easily on Amazon
Or at the website.
and at our website, Lori McDonald, author, and then Help for the Haunted and UFO Exposure, Health Injuries of Close Encounter UFO Incidents. These two books function like bookends. They actually go together very well.
Lori, tell me about some of your paintings, your UFO alien art.
Okay, well, that is Bill's, but what I did is I took his black and white images, his pen and ink, and I put them through computer programs, Photoshop, different things like that, and I enhanced them with color. So in the back of the book, we have several of his wonderful images. I've just enhanced them with
And she
different,
gave me the cover assignment too, which
like lightning. I enhanced them with, cosmic things, and I don't know, just, well, it's in the book, but it's also, if you want to see the images, it's you can purchase that too.
when Lori's
It's online on my website.
when Lori's doing her artwork, something grabs her and she phases out, and she does anomalous intuition, whether she's working on something on my artwork or whether she's doing all of her pourings with all the different chemistries she uses.
And that didn't start until 5 years ago. I spontaneously
Yeah.
started painting.
And
I'd never painted before ever.
and she has missing time while she paints, but yet when you look at her, she's been in the kitchen the whole time, 2 hours, 3 hours. She doesn't remember it. 5 hours, she doesn't remember it in her art studio, and yet the artwork is finished, the paint is drying, and I like using extrasensory perception. I like using anomalous intuition. These are military terms.
But your black and white images were based on witness testimony.
Well, I'm an old-fashioned gumshoe private eye. I've been a detective since before there was an internet. And the interesting thing is that nobody elicits statements from witnesses more carefully than I do. I've made that my very special thing. I also like to corroborate different details from different witnesses, looking for common patterns and trends. I also have a built-in bullshit detector. I know if somebody's lying to me. I know if they're fabricating, which is a conscious act. But do not confuse confabulation with lying. Confabulation is a subconscious effect that works in the human brain, where the human brain fills in gaps in its memory because it needs to, psychologically, because of trauma that it does not yet understand.
Is that part of the pareidolia?
Yes, definitely.
You cannot,
Where you see faces in the clouds.
Right.
and-
absolutely, you cannot call a confabulating person a liar.
They really believe it.
If I, as a detective, am talking to you
Mm-hmm.
and you believe every word of what you're saying, and 15 other witnesses say you're completely out of your mind, that doesn't make you a liar. Because if I put you on a lie detector machine, guess what?
Oh, pass.
You still pass.
Yeah.
So never confuse lying with confabulation. That's a huge no-no.
In your opinion, out of all the UFO reports that come into the different agencies and the different organizations, what percentage would you say are real UFO sightings or abductions or contacts?
No lying is involved in probably 12%, and less than 6% are reliably anomalous. In other words, 94% can be written off as something where we understand what it is, what the cause is, what the effect is, what the the phenomena is. Something like weather, something like man-made, something that could be
planets.
pyrokinetic.
Right. Well, guys, I hate to do this, but the time has come when you and I must say so long. As always, great talking to the both of you. Lori, congratulations on all you do. And Bill, keep up the great work. And quickly give our listeners your websites once more.
It's www.alienUFOart, ALIENUFOART.com, one word. We also own .org and .net. The other thing is the book is called UFO Exposure, Health Injuries of Close Encounter UFO Incidents. Lori is Lori, McDonald, just like the Hamburger Man, McDonald. Help for the Haunted, a guide to house blessings, ghost clearings, and spiritual self-protection.
All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'll be back on the other side of this break as the X-Zone continues with hour number 2 from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, found right here on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed at classic1220.ca.